Australia is often called the lucky country, but the reality of that luck depends entirely on the number hitting your bank account every second Wednesday. To understand what life really looks like here in 2026, we have to look past the beautiful beaches and see the cold, hard data of the Australian economy. From the minimum wage struggle to the elusive top 1%, let's break down exactly what your lifestyle looks like at every pay level in Australia today. Starting at the base, we have the national minimum wage, which currently sits at about $49,000 a year for a full-time worker. At this level, life in a major city like Sydney or Melbourne is an extreme exercise in budgeting. You are likely living in a shared house with 2 or 3 other people, or perhaps a small studio in the far outer suburbs. In 2026, rent remains the single biggest hurdle for this bracket, often consuming over 40% of your take-home pay. Your social life consists of home-cooked meals and free community events. A night out at a pub or a casual restaurant is a luxury that requires careful planning. For a single person at this level, there is very little room for error. An unexpected car repair or a high electricity bill can be enough to wipe out an entire month of savings. Moving up to the $60,000 to $70,000 range, we find many entry-level professionals, hospitality workers, and retail staff. This is often described as survival mode with a bit more breathing room. At $70,000, you might still be in a share house, but you have more control over your lifestyle. You can afford a decent gym membership, a subscription or two, and you aren't constantly checking your bank balance before buying groceries. However, the dream of homeownership remains firmly out of reach. In the 2026 market, even a modest apartment in a capital city requires a deposit that is almost impossible to save for on this income alone. You are living a comfortable life day to day, but you are not yet building significant wealth. The $90,000 mark is a significant psychological and statistical milestone. This is the current median full-time salary in Australia. If you earn this much, you are doing better than half of the full-time workforce. In cities like Adelaide, Perth, or Brisbane, $90,000 provides a genuinely high quality of life. You could likely afford to rent a modern one-bedroom apartment on your own without feeling rent-stressed. You can afford regular weekend trips, a reliable car, and quality healthcare. However, in Sydney, $90,000 still feels surprisingly average. After tax and the high cost of rent or a mortgage, your disposable income is healthy, but you still have to make choices. You might choose between a high-end holiday or a newer car, but you rarely have to choose both. Once you cross into the $120,000 to $150,000 bracket, the landscape of your life changes significantly. You are now in the top 20% of Australian earners. At this level, you aren't just living, you are accumulating. This is the bracket where most people finally feel they have mastered the cost of living. You can likely service a mortgage on a decent property in a middle-ring suburb, even with the interest rates of 2026. Your grocery shopping is done without looking at prices, and you probably have private health insurance with all the extras. This is the comfortable middle class that many aspire to. You have the freedom to invest in your future, whether that's through extra superannuation contributions or a modest share portfolio. Then we enter the high earner territory, $200,000 and above. Statistically, this puts you in the top 5% of the country. At $200,000, the daily cost of living crisis becomes something you read about in the news rather than something you feel at the checkout. You likely live in a highly sought-after suburb, perhaps close to the water or the city center. Your children might attend private schools, and you likely take at least one major international holiday every year. Financial stress at this level is usually a result of lifestyle creep rather than a lack of resources. You are paying a significant amount of tax, but your net income still allows for a level of luxury that is invisible to the average worker. At the very top, we have the one percenters, those earning over $350,000 annually. These are the senior executives, specialized surgeons, and successful business owners. For this group, the Australian lifestyle is world-class. Life is characterized by high-end real estate, luxury vehicles, and total financial agency. You aren't just saving for retirement, you are building a legacy. However, the most important takeaway for Australia in 2026 isn't just the number on your payslip, but where you choose to spend it. $100,000 in a regional mining town or a coastal hub like Hobart offers a vastly different reality than the same amount in the heart of Sydney. While Australia remains a high-wage, high-cost nation, the truly lucky ones are those who find the balance between their income and the cost of the ground beneath their feet. No matter the level, the Australian dream is still alive, but in 2026, it requires more strategic planning than ever before.